Hey guys, Will here. Recently, I've done videos on both the best and worst raids in WoW. I figured the best way to follow that up would be to talk about the dungeons in the World of Warcraft. Today, we're going to list off the 5 best dungeons in the game. Remember, this is just my opinion, so feel free to disagree and share your own thoughts. Upper Blackrock Spire. Affectionately known as Ubers to old school players, this dungeon represented the pinnacle of dungeon content at the time. Tied to the Onyxia and Blackwing layer attunements, this instance became very well known during classic WoW. While some found the layout confusing, it's definitely more manageable than Blackrock Depths. Upper Blackrock Spire is also well known for being the setting of the infamous Leroy Jenkins video, one of the oldest and most known WoW memes, later inspiring an achievement rewarding the Jenkins title. Because this dungeon is going to be revamped in Warlords of Draenor, I recommend running through it a few times, just for nostalgia's sake, or, if you've never been there, to see what vanilla content was like. Shattered Halls. Commonly regarded as one of the most brutal Burning Crusade heroics, Shattered Halls was truly challenging. Crowd control and target priorities were extremely important here. While the trash was difficult to handle, the bosses had interesting mechanics as well. The Gauntlet event before the second boss is still one of the most interesting moments in a WoW dungeon. It's been mentioned that the Shattered Halls in Stratholme inspired the challenge mode difficulty, and I, personally, would love to see this one return as a scaled up challenge mode dungeon in a future expansion. Number 3. Well of Eternity. While Cataclysm's rating is heavily criticized, its dungeon content was spectacular. Well of Eternity, added in patch 4.3, was originally intended to be a War of the Ancients style raid, but was later downscaled into a 5-man. It's sad to imagine what could have been, but the art and bosses we did get were great. Meeting up with characters like Illidan and Ajara makes this one of the most lore-heavy instances, but the RP sequences never felt too intrusive. The difficulty was perhaps a little too low, but that made farming valor points a less tedious process. Number 2. Grim Batal. Reminiscent of dark dungeons like Blackrock Depths or Blackrock Spire, Grim Batal had a very serious tone. This carried over into the difficulty, and the dungeon was considered to be one of the most difficult Cataclysm heroics. Each of the bosses felt like a mini raid encounter, with Forge Master Throngus having more mechanics than some bosses in the Burning Crusade. While the bosses were unforgiving, the use of the Drakes allowed players to weaken the trash quite a bit, depending on their skill with the vehicles. This is another dungeon I'd like to see return as a scaled-up heroic or challenge mode, as it required communication and coordination within the party. Number 1. Magister's Terrace. This was the only dungeon added in the patch cycle of the Burning Crusade, and it didn't disappoint. Some people may find the reuse of Kael'thas and the merely a setback explanation a bit contrived, but the dungeon was well worth some minor lore issues. From the music and environments to the trash and boss fights, every part of Magister's Terrace felt carefully crafted. This dungeon is still worth visiting today, as Kael'thas drops both a Phoenix Hatchling battle pet as well as the Swift White Hawk Strider mount on heroic difficulty. And those were the top 5 best dungeons in WoW. I know I may have missed a few like the old Shadowfang Keep or Scholomance, but it's impossible to fit all these great dungeons in a top 5 list. Anyway, that's all for me for now, so thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.